Hello and welcome. So this is basically video number 11 when it comes to the pivot tables. So in this point, I would actually want us to check on what you call a slicer and how that slicer is actually a slicer. So a slicer is actually an advanced filter when it actually comes to the pivot tables. But before we actually do check on that, make sure you actually subscribe to my YouTube channel and also follow me on my X account so that you can build this platform together. So in this point here, you'll actually realize that in our pivot table there, this is actually the pivot table report. That's actually the sum of amount by the products. Yes. So amount into the values, product into the rows. So each product and the total amount, each product and the total amount. Now, I know you are wondering why we are actually coming to this point of using a slicer when we actually know how we can use all those kinds of filters. First of all, I'll actually show you one of the basic ways that a slicer can actually be used. So in this point here, instead of actually filtering, let's say for example, you do not want the apples to appear, so you actually deselect it like that, then hit on OK, then the apples have actually disappeared, just like that. But to actually bring it back, you have to go to the filter again, then select it, then hit on OK. So we have the apples back. But we can actually use a slicer to do the same thing. Come to this point here for the pivot table analyze tab. Click on the pivot table analyze tab there, and you'll actually realize that you have what you call filter. So inside this filter group here, we have what you call a slicer. So insert a slicer, and it will actually ask you, what will this slicer be filtering? In this point, the slicer will actually be filtering the products. So you tick on the product. Yes, that's the work that we would actually want the slicer to do, to filter the products. So just hit OK, and now you can actually check that we have our filter. So instead of you actually coming to this point here and deselecting apples so that you can actually have it missing inside the report, you can actually use the slicer. So you can actually check that when the apple has actually been deselected, you can check that it's now deselected. On this point here, it's deselected. You can see all these others are having the light blue background, while this one for the apple is actually having no fill. So let me actually bring it back and now use the slicer to do the same thing. So to actually deselect the apple, what you have to do is to select everything and deselect the apple. So how do we actually deselect this? So to deselect the apple, you have to click on banana there, then hit Ctrl on the keyboard, then you select the next one, then you select the next one, select the next again, select mangoes, select the oranges. In doing so, you will actually be deselecting the first one. So to select multiple items on the slicer, you have to hit Ctrl. So let's say you actually want to deselect broccoli. So you want to select all these three, jump this one here, then you select these three. How will that actually work? So you have to click on the first one, hit Ctrl on the keyboard, select the second one, select the third one, then jump that one, select carrots, select mango, select orange. Just like that, leave the Ctrl on the keyboard, and now that's it. Now you can actually check that we do not have broccoli. So come to this point here again and clear the filters. Now, what if you would like to select all these except the orange? Are we going to click on Ctrl again so that you can pick one by one? No. When you are selecting consecutive products, you can just click on apple like that, hit Shift on the keyboard, then click the last one. Just like that, and it's actually done. So when the products are actually consecutive, you can actually use the Shift. So you press the first one, then hit Shift on the keyboard, then you press the last item that you would want to be shown on the report. Just like that. Then all these others in between will be selected automatically. If they are not consecutive, I would urge you to use the Ctrl on the keyboard. Now, before I actually take you to part 2 of the slicer, allow me to actually bring you to this point here. So in this case here, I will actually be having all these Microsoft Excel courses. So all these courses are actually available on my Google Drive account. Yes, because my website is actually on hold and it will be back to live very soon. So when my website is actually back, you won't actually lose the access for these courses. So your access will actually be shifted from the Google Drive account into the website. Now imagine at $100, you are getting this premium content, which will actually be going at $945. So the deal for that content is actually $945. So if I get you this deal at $100, I will actually be getting you this almost at a free. So you can also come to this point here and get me the work on the projects so that I can work and help you solve your problems. So in this point, we have the monthly retainer. If your work is actually running every month, you can pick the monthly retainer. That's the monthly subscription. For the monthly subscription, we have the cloud in Excel prompting, the dashboards, the charts, the automation, the pivot tables and the models, Power BI, financial forecast, templates management. All this kind of work will actually be going at $550 a month. Yes. But for the one-time task, let's, for example, if you have work on AI-powered dashboard designs, I will actually take $150, AI data analysis and insights, $200, AI automation and smart macros, $250, AI enhanced Power BI reports, $300. The prices are actually quite favorable. Up here, you will also check that I'll be designing for you the templates, so I can design for you the templates and manage it for you and deliver the results. So for a monthly retainer, that work will actually be going at $50. So I design the template, I manage it, I deliver the results. $50 a month. Now, if you also need these kinds of templates, the ultimate business dashboard templates, personal finance templates, inventory management system, templates on AI-powered reporting, templates on HR and payroll trackers, templates on sales performance trackers, I'll actually get you those templates quickly. And these are the prices: $22, $19, $15, $19, $12, $17. The prices are fairly good. So to actually reach me out for those kinds of work, this is actually my email. So reach me out for the projects, reach me out for the templates, and also reach me out for the courses. I'll be glad to help you solve your problems. Now, in this point, there's one thing that I want you to note. Yes. So we have apples here, and these apples, you can actually check that the sum total is actually 191 to 57. If we come to this point here, that's for the source data, you'll actually realize that for the apples, this is actually the apple, and it's actually coming from this country here, which is actually France, and the amount is 24.17. So this is actually apple, France 24.17, apple, Canada 74, that one. But you'll also realize that we have apple from France 69.46. What if we would actually want to obtain the total sum of amount from the item equivalent to the apple, and the country must be equivalent to France? So we will not be obtaining the total amount for the apples. No, we will obtain the total amount for the apples given that the country is equivalent to France. Because in this point, you can check that I have the country here. The products are actually apple. You can check apple, fruit. The country is actually different. This is France and this is Canada. That's actually the difference. And on this point, you will also realize that the country is actually equivalent to France. So if you would like to obtain the total amount for the apple in a point where the country is equivalent to France, how do you actually do that? That's where the slicer comes in. Yes. So remember, if we could be using the Excel, then we could have actually applied the sum ifs function. But in this point, we can actually do that just by using the slicer. So let me actually show you what actually happens. To actually delete this slicer, what you have to do is to come to this point here, then you hit on delete on the keyboard. So after hitting on delete on the keyboard, it actually disappears. We have to use a slicer in a point where we have to obtain the country to be France. So we actually want to obtain the sum of amount, yes, but this sum of amount should not be the sum in all the countries. No, it should be the sum of amount in the countries equivalent to France only. So what you have to do is to come to this point here. That's the pivot table analyze tab. Then inside the pivot table analyze tab, you have what you call the slicer. Inside the slicer, then we are basing our filter on the country. So we would actually want to obtain the sum of amount where the country is equivalent to France. So you tick on the country like that, then you hit on OK, just like that, and now you can actually drag to this point here. So for the France, you just have to come to this point here and click on France. just like that. So all these are actually for France. Let's say, for example, if you also need for Germany, you click on Germany like that. These are the amounts for these products when it comes to Germany. When it comes to Australia, you click on it like that, and these are the amounts for these products when it comes to Australia. That's it. Now, I will actually want to show you part 2 of this in the next video. Thanks for watching.